What do Fram oil filters and a small law firm have in common? You can pay me now, or you can pay me later. Hey everyone, welcome to Suits and Boots Legal Podcast. We're today talking about you can pay me now, or you can pay me later.
Boy, howdy. Isn't that the truth?
That is absolutely the truth in a lot of things.
You started out with the Fram oil filter. It's so true. It's not just legal work, right?
No, it's not legal work at all. The Fram oil filter reference is from a commercial. David Bembo actually turned me onto it and kind of showed me how it was applicable to our field specifically, but I think in a lot of ways, a lot of fields. It's a commercial about a guy, a mechanic who's under a car, and he wheels out from under there and says, this Fram oil filter here is $6, and this blown out fuel evaporator, whatever, is $200 to fix. You can pay me now, or you can pay me later. So the principle remains is that, a little bit of planning on the front end can prevent a lot of headaches on the back end.
It's really common sense, right? I mean, it applies to so many different things. Like I come from the heating and air industry, and it's the same thing. Like an air filter that you put in your heating and air system is $1, maybe $1 from Walmart, maybe $2 or $3. If you get a really good one, $5.
Yeah.
And if you don't change that thing, if you let it get nasty and don't change it, guess what? You're going to be buying a heating and air system.
Well, Ron, how often should we be replacing those?
At least, depending on what you've got, probably at least every other month. Monthly doesn't hurt anything, but hey, just look at it. Look at it and see what it looks like. So, and like in my house, I've got thicker ones that are you have to order them. You can't just go to the store and buy them, but they're every 6 months. So you can
last a little bit longer.
Yeah. But usually, the better the filter, the more often you need to replace it.
Okay.
Because it's
picking up more stuff.
It's going to get stopped up sooner. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So the same's true for legal work too,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, we'll kind of go through a couple of ways that we've just thought about, off the cuff that really applies.
Well, let's share some war stories. So especially lately, it seems like Kolin here is the man when it comes to partition proceedings and things like that. But what leads into that is the poor estate planning, right?
That's absolutely right. It's a situation where, I hate to say it, but people come in and they for whatever reason, they think they're doing, the right thing by doing a will. And don't get me wrong, they are. But it can backfire a little bit in that real property, land, has some interesting interactions with just saying, give it to my kids. And a lot of people think that's the right thing to do, and absolutely it is. But there's ways we can kind of plan around it to where we're not saying, I give my house, my farmland to my 4 kids, and then they have it for their lives, and then they pass away, and then they have 4 kids of their own, and we got 16 people who own this piece of property here, and no one wants it, or one of them wants it, and they say, hey, I want to get this in my name. I go, okay, it's gonna be a process.
Or one of them wants it. And ends up taking care of it and spending all the money. They pay the taxes and all this stuff. Yep. And they think that just because they do all that they are going to get the property.
Yep.
That's not the way it works.
Unfortunately, that it would be nice if it worked that way. It does not work that way. The law is going to protect the interest of these other people, whether they've even ever been to the property or not. So
when we think about pay me now, pay me later, I think probably the classic example is estate planning.
I believe so.
So many people will say, man, I don't want to go see an attorney. Attorneys are expensive, and when I die, my kids can just figure it out, or my whoever can just figure it out. And they don't do any planning at all. So talk about the importance of estate planning in general, even if that's just a will.
Yeah.
Or maybe we do some probate avoidance things to avoid probate.
Yeah.
Talk about the difference between that good estate plan that may go through probate and the one that might avoid probate, and how a little bit of money now can save a heck of a lot of money later.
Yeah. So really what it kind of at the bottom line, it's the process of going through the clerk of court and the probate process. We've talked a lot about it in season 1. Just kind of as a refresher, it's really the court monitored process of them overseeing that your wishes are made effectuated, and that your will is going to be followed. Whoever you list as your executor is going to be your executor, or if you don't have a will, whoever qualifies to be your administrator will actually function to move your stuff from your name to their name. that's a really simplistic way of explaining it. In practicality, it takes quite a while, and it's public, it's court monitored. It can be a bear, and that's why with some good planning, we can function to avoid, some, if not all of your assets not having to go through that process and just going directly to your loved ones. So, really the core components of doing that are doing estate planning documents, whether that be a will, or whether it be something on the probate avoidance front, kind of like a trust. So probate is, at the end of the day, not the end of the world, but it can be a process for sure. So
And it's typical. What do you see it now? Is it even for a simple, if it's just a will, but it has to go through probate, is a year or?
yeah, it's the Iredell County Clerk of Court and a couple surrounding counties just switched over to electronic filing. So hopefully that will streamline the process a little bit more in the long run. In the short term right now, we're still kind of rolling with the punches here, getting it figured out. So yeah, I'd say anywhere between 9 months to a year, potentially over a year. It can certainly take quite a while.
And and you're probably talking about several $1,000s.
Absolutely.
Between attorney's fees and all the court fees and everything else.
Absolutely.
In order to run through
Yep.
that probate process.
It's costly to do. It takes time. A lot of people are not happy with the fact that it's public, in that it's not that your information is going to get blasted in the newspaper. I mean, some of it actually will with the notice to creditors. But your will and essentially an accounting of all of your substantial assets are going to be in a file.
Bank accounts, retirement accounts, potentially.
Yep.
All that stuff's going to be listed as on the inventory.
Public record.
Yeah.
And that, people can go look at that. Not, and some people don't see it as the end of the world. Some people think over my dead body that's going to be public information.
Which, ironically,
here we are.
So when we think about pay me now, pay me later, you get paid a lot of money to do probate administration.
That's right. Yeah, it's one of the things when I first started doing it. I didn't know really what was going on. I was learning it. Not a lot of people do it, really. I mean, some people kind of, they'll do it when they have a client who they're close with, but not a lot of people kind of specialize in doing just that. And that's something that I've kind of found my niche doing, and I do enjoy doing it. But it is a process, and it is costly to do. It takes time.
So when we talk about pay me now, pay me, so what we're trying to say is if you will pay us a little bit now to do, especially like a trust or something like that, where we can avoid that probate process. Yes, a trust might be expensive on the front end, but it's not nearly as expensive, especially for someone who needs a trust.
Yes.
As that probate process will be on the
absolutely,
back end.
and it's faster. It can serve a lot of goals, but primarily if you just have the cost in mind, that's absolutely the case here. That when if you have a trust set up that's set up accurately and funded, upon your passing, there's no involvement whatsoever with the clerk of court. It really is just a self-governed document.
Seamless.
That kind of, transfers your assets, directly to those folks, rather than having the clerk of court having to approve it or having us work with the clerk of court to get that stuff moved over.
So as you talk about planning, and especially estate planning and that kind of thing, there's also the flip side of that of no planning. And boy, we've seen some results of that. Even where folks, like you were saying, they think they've done the right thing and they've gone and gotten a will, but that will leaves the property to even just 2 or 3 children.
Yeah.
But in some cases, we've seen wills that leave the property to 8, 9, 10, 12 children.
Yeah.
Or 12 people, not even necessarily children, but just multiple people. And then throw in some entities like so much to this church or so much to that church and then you've got so many individuals. Talk about some of the problems that come along with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame because people they're doing what we tell them to do, right? We're saying go get you a will, go get you a power of attorney, a trust, anything like that. Just so as long as it's not intestate, that can complicate things in its own way. But they think they're doing the right thing. And they're not doing the wrong thing. It's just, not understanding the consequences of what actually is being done. So you're absolutely right on that front. It's, you're giving it to your kids, and if things aren't done to be proactive when you inherit something, it can kind of quickly compound. You have 2 or 3 kids getting it, and they never do anything with it, and then their 3 kids get it, and 3 generations later, we have 40 people who own a single family home.
Yeah.
And that is just a recipe for, you're going to be making a lot of phone calls to these people. You're going to be sending these people a lot of letters. And if you can't get a hold of them, we're going to have to file some sort of petition to have the clerk decide what's going on with this piece of property.
Yeah.
So again, bringing in the expense kind of conversation here, that, planning on the front end, even coming in to see us for a consult can really avoid a lot of this stuff for your future generations. That's why I say it's so important to kind of be proactive and get ahead of this and plan the right way, I guess, is what the bottom line is.
Yeah, and that's especially important, knowing that in this day and age with AI and all the things coming along. I mean, we've known about LegalZoom for years, but now with AI and ChatGPT and all these other bots out there that you can just plug in, hey, make me a will. Just because it can do it doesn't mean it can do it right.
Yeah, that's what it'll absolutely generate something for the prompt.
Yeah.
Whether it's right, you're rolling the dice
and
on
what
that
the
one.
consequences of that document will be. So yeah, you might avoid paying Kolin now to do the estate plan, but you're probably going to end up paying him later.
Yeah, there's a little something here in North Carolina called a caveat proceeding. It's a will challenge. Not fun.
Yeah.
We're going to want to avoid as many of those as we can.
And that's the great thing about, in our firm, we've always done estate planning and estate administration.
Yes.
And that's the good thing about doing both sides. Right?
Yeah, I respect people who, do one or the other. It's hard for me to conceptualize practicing one without having the other in mind. Specifically, practicing estate planning without having a good grasp on estate administration. At the end of the day, you can draw your will up to say, I give, X amount of dollars to all these people. Well, what if you don't have that many dollars? I give my property to all these people here. Well, you just gave, 15 different people a piece of real property here. Yeah, and your intentions were good on that, but you need someone to tell you, said, hey, that's probably not the best idea because it's going to create pretty significant problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing. I believe that doing your estate planning from the scope of estate administration is really essential.
You're looking back.
Yes.
If we do this here, what's that going to do?
Absolutely. What are the consequences on the back end here?
Yeah. And there's so many things that we can do that just smooth all that out on the front side. And that's really, as attorneys, that's really our goal. Is we have seen, I have people. I work with a lot of real estate agents, and you guys have seen Matt Madison. He's been on the podcast several times. Matt does rental property management.
Yeah.
And he's a great agent broker for buying and selling, but he also does the property management stuff. He told me so many times, Luke, you need to get some rental property. You need some rental property so that that recurring income. You just sit back and collect it. And I say, Matt, I see so many problems come through the door that I don't know that I want to mess with it, because we deal with landlord-tenant law, landlord-tenant issues all the time. So we as attorneys can be a little bit cynical.
Yes.
When it comes, but if we're not that way, we're not really doing our job.
Yep.
Right? Because when somebody comes and says, hey, I want to do whatever, fill in the blank, our job's to think of all the potential problems.
Yep.
And say, okay, we need to figure out, one, do we need to tell you, no, don't do that? Or two, do we need to figure out how are we going to make it so these problems aren't problems?
Yep. And that's what we'll probably, if we're doing our job, we're probably going to ask you questions in our meeting that you really hadn't thought of before.
Yeah.
It's, well, if that person has passed away, who do you want to get it? They go, oh, well, they're younger than me. I just kind of assumed that they'd be around. It's like, well.
And most of the time, that's the way it works.
I like to use statistically, yeah. But, we're planning for the catastrophic here. And it's really just to cover all of our bases. What is it? failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah. Well, you see, like, a lot of people don't know that attorneys are required to take substance abuse classes and mental health CLEs because our brains just see we see in reality so many terrible outcomes for so many things because people come and they need help. They're at a crossroads, as we've talked about previously. And our job is to think about all the horrible things that could happen and try to prepare and plan for those. And so sometimes it can be a little like, man, this somebody comes in with an exciting business idea and we're like, well.
Pump the brakes here. That's what one thing we've talked about too is that he's a little lucky. You got real estate is one of those areas a lot that's usually a happy. Usually
everybody's tickled.
So estate planning.
Yeah, it's just kind of everybody loves to buy a house. Nobody wants to think about their own demise.
Yeah, well, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to think about that. So even regardless of whether you're thinking about estate planning, estate administration, probate avoidance, or just business formation, we do quite a bit of LLCs. Or we get people coming in and saying, hey, I want to go in with my neighbor and buy this piece of property. Or I want to go, I've got a business partner and we want to do fill in the blank.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've learned in life is that good fences make good neighbors, but good agreements make good partnerships. And they work exactly the same. Where those fences kind of fence in the boundaries and say, okay, here's where we live. Here's where we can roam and do. And as long as we're inside of this fence, we're not going to have a problem.
Yep.
That's exactly what an agreement does. And whether it's an operating agreement for an LLC, which so many people will come and say, hey, we want you to form an LLC for us. And we say, okay, and we quote the fee. And they're like, oh my goodness, why is it so much? Well, you can form an LLC by simply filing some articles of organization with the Secretary of State, which is fairly simple. But really, LLCs are creatures of contract.
Yeah.
Until you have an operating agreement, it's really not clear what you have.
Yeah.
Even if you've got articles filed, like, well, that doesn't mean a whole lot.
It exists, but what are the rules?
Yeah. What does it do? How do you handle any of these potential problems that might come up?
Yeah.
And that's where the operating agreement comes in. So it doesn't matter whether you're planning for your death, whether you're planning your business. We talked in the last episode about business succession planning.
Yep.
With Mr. Bimbo leaving the law firm and how well he did at planning his exit. If you own a business and you're not planning for that, then you're planning to fail.
That's absolutely right. It can be an easy thing to kind of fall into and just thinking, kicking the can down the road, thinking I don't want to do that. In every way, we can't stress enough how just a little bit of planning on the front end, that $6 Fram oil filter can really save you a whole lot of time and energy and money on the back end.
And ultimately, what's the crazy thing about, especially this episode, as we talk about these things, is we get paid more money if you don't plan. So if you avoid coming to see an attorney, you're going to probably end up paying an attorney more in the long run. So when you think, oh, well, they're just trying to drum up business. Well, yeah, we want you to come see us, but ultimately it's so we can help because we know the consequences of waiting, the consequences of not planning.
That's right.
And there's been so many times, I've seen so many contracts where you look at it and it's ultimately gone sideways for whatever reason. And the people come in and they show us this contract or they email it to me for me to review. And I'm looking at it and I call them or we're sitting at the conference room table and I say, hey, where'd you get this contract? Oh, we drew it up ourselves. And that's not to say that they're not smart people. It's just we see and we know what to look for when we're doing this.
Absolutely.
And so you can look at it and say, well, if it had this language in there, I could help, but it doesn't.
Yep.
Or if you would have done this, we could help.
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs in those conversations there, and those aren't fun ones to tell people like, yeah, if you did it just a little bit different, we'd be not having this conversation right now.
And the big if is if you would have come to see me before you signed this thing, I could help.
Yep.
But at this point, it's a lot of times we can still help. It's just expensive. Or sometimes we just have to say, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where there isn't anything that we can do. We can, plan moving forward, but to fix some things,
sometimes we
can't
just
be done.
Mitigate the fallout.
That's right.
And try to make it painless as possible.
That's right.
So ultimately, the answer is call us, come see us,
That's
talk
right.
to us. A consult is not that expensive. And a lot of times, just a few $100s for a consultation can save you thousands down the road.
Absolutely.
So come see us. Hey, make sure to check out our channel. Look at all our other videos, because there's a lot of good information in there. It's probably never going to take the place of actually sitting down and talking with us about your specific situation. But there's a lot of great information here about estate planning, about business formation, about all the things that we do. So make sure to like and subscribe so you can catch the new stuff. This is season 2.
Season 2, we're here.
And this is just the second episode, so there's lots more to come. So you guys stick around. Make sure to follow us and give us a like. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
The information contained in this video and audio recording is general in nature and should not be relied upon in making legal decisions. Every situation is different, and you should consult with your attorney before making any legal decisions.